God actually spoke to me. He spoke about sacredness. He said to me, Kim, what I place in many, many people is sacred. And if anybody touches what is sacred to me, then it is the end for them. So what I've done in the United States of America is sacred. And there are people on every side that are trying to destroy what I deem sacred. And it's not going to happen. Because I have upheld this country to spread a light to the rest of the world. This was sacred to God. Now is the time to act. This is exactly why I need some action from my people.
There is a man by the name of Mr. Clark, and there is also another man by the name of Donald. You are both watching me saying, could it be that God's speaking to me? Yes, He is. Somebody, just a few minutes before you came on the show, you went out and you took the American flag and you said, I'm proud of my nation. You raised it up and God said, you have been determined through your prayers to influence this nation. You're watching me, you're an influential person. The Spirit of God says, hear the word of the prophet to you as a king. I will open that door that you prayed about. And when it comes time for the election, you will be elected.
Okay, folks, on today's show, it's going to be a blasty blast. I want to tee it up real quick so you know who is talking to you, with you, breaking this down here. We've got Andrew Sorcini. He spent over 3 decades in the precious metals space. Andrew Sorcini. That's who I buy precious metals from, Andrew Sorcini with Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Caleb with Church and State, Caleb Collier. He hosts the Church and State broadcast and podcast. He does a great job. That's churchandstate.media, churchandstate.media. And Donne Clement, her father was the late, great prophet Kim Clement. And so we've got quite an all-star team here. And we're going to be breaking down these Kim Clement prophecies as it relates to gold and current events. So Donne, before we get started here, could you share with everybody just a little bit about these clips before we play the clips and break them down?
Well, what I found when you said to me, what did your dad prophesy about gold? And there was that one particular date of February 22nd, 2014, where he was obviously not only prophesying about Trump, but events that would transpire through the course of his presidency, his terms. It was on this day he brought up the impeachments and the attempts to impeach him. And so much other stuff. So that whole date is amazing. But it was on that date that he kept seeing gold with Trump. And he wasn't saying Trump's name. He was speaking of the president to come. And he was saying he's seeing gold attached to his name. And he kept seeing gold in California. And it kept coming up in prophecy, which is also aligned with what he was seeing with America having death to debt. He prophesied that for years, that there would be death to debt alongside a discovery of a new energy source. And so it's all connected. It's very interesting.
Now, real quick, before we get into these clips, I want to tee this up. Andrew Sorcini claims to have a 0% prophetic giftings. I know Caleb claims to have a negative 2% prophetic gifting. I would say I have a negative 8% negative prophetic gifting. So can you kind of explain to us prophecy as you see it from your perspective as being the daughter of Kim Clement?
Well, what I've found, through the course of this is it's not just to entertain people or to amaze people. There's purpose to it. And what's happened through the course of especially the past 10 years and what we've dealt with Trump and everything else is that it has been a guide in a time where things have been quite confusing. We as Christians understand that we need discernment, but God will send us a prophet sometimes when we need, I like to refer to it as lights along the way. If everything is dark and you're unsure, and we certainly are dealing with that so much, that these prophetic words have been like little lights to guide us along the way of what is God's will ultimately and what is going to happen and what are we moving towards as far as destiny is concerned.
Now, for anybody out there that does not know this, 27% of the Bible is prophetic. 73% of the Bible is historical. I've read the Bible a lot. I've discovered I'm not in it. And so that's one thing that's blown my mind. Sorchini, I'm not in the Bible. You're not in the Bible. Maybe you are. I don't know. But I can't find myself. But I do know that Kim Clement prophesied a lot about Trump. So Kim Clement prophesied a lot about Trump becoming a trumpet, and he also prophesied about gold. We'll get into that in just a second. Also, Donald J. Trump posted on 4/20/2025, so on April 20th of 2025 at 4:09, he posted, "The golden rule of negotiating and success, he who has the gold makes the rules." Thank you. So why am I wanting to break down these Kim Clement prophecies? Well, because Kim Clement is inextricably connected to these Donald Trump prophecies. And your father, Kim Clement, prophesied about gold. Trump is now talking about gold often. And Andrew, you were just saying that what is Trump doing with the gold right now? What does he say? In addition to talking about gold, what's happening with the gold?
I saw in the news today, and the story went very quickly. I saw that he just redid the whole Oval Office in gold. It looks like almost every single picture frame in the Oval Office now has a gold frame. And then I saw all kinds of different ornate decorations on the wall that are all gold. And I feel like he's sending us messages. He's been telling us since the inaugural speech that we need to get gold.
Okay, and then my final disclaimer here, Bo Polny is a beautiful man, and so is gold. Gold is beautiful, so that's why we have Bo on the show. Bo is beautiful, gold is beautiful. That's how Bo got on the show. So let's go here. So let's pull up this first clip here, Donne. This is from Camarillo, California. I've been there a couple times. That's February 22nd of 2014.
California, you are dying because of a drought. Watch my sign. Watch the sign of rain. For I told you there would be severe wind from above. And all the states that are affected by this severe weather have been set up for a shaking of my spirit and an outpouring of my spirit. But California, I'm looking at you. Gold, stone, California, a smaller statue. And God says, once you recognize the man that I have raised up, pray. For the enemy will do everything in his power to put a witch in the White House. Did anybody hear what he just said? For Jezebel has chased away the prophets and even Elijah.
Come on.
Now I have said, go back. For this shall be dismantled so that there will be no more corruption in the White House, says the Spirit.
Okay, we're going to go to Donne Clement first. Donne, what is your reaction to that prophetic video delivered by your father, Kim Clement, on February 22nd of 2014?
Well, something that commonly occurs in prophecy is when you hear it, it doesn't always make sense. That's happened to me time and time again. And then as time progresses and things are fulfilled, it'll often be in a way we don't expect. I think God likes to surprise us. And so we have this issue in California with the Democratic leadership. You have people fleeing from California. Everything is so expensive and it looks impossible. But my dad had I don't want to call it a slogan, but it was a thing he used to have people say is, impossible is nothing for God. And what he was seeing, now this is going back more than a decade that he prophesied this, that he was seeing, first of all, he sees the weather. Now that often is something that you'll find will be aligned with the different things he's prophesying about. It's sort of like a sign, like last year we did the seasons prophecy and he was seeing volcanic eruptions and things like this, all connected to a new energy source and death to debt for the United States of America. So now you're seeing him seeing something to do with gold in the state of California. And interestingly enough, you hear him say in there, and now I've said, go back. And you think of how many people have left California. And this will be dismantled so that there will be no more corruption in the White House. And I mean, we're hearing ourselves. You've got Donald Trump in there, and the administration talking about going to Fort Knox and seeing, like, is the gold even there? So I find it quite interesting, and I do think that we're still in the middle of that part, and we're yet to see what God is going to do in California. I know Bo Polny, being in California, will understand that a little bit too.
Now, I want to get the reaction of Bo on this. Bo, you're looking at this again, we want to, with the timing, we have about an hour together, so I really want to make sure I keep the pacing there. What's your reaction to that clip there, Bo Polny?
Well, first thing you want to look at is what he said specifically with regard to rain. Okay, so there's prophecies. You want to take prophecies. You want to listen specifically to the words that are used within the prophecy and not make our own interpretations. And then you want to also listen to the prophetic, other prophets. Then lastly, you always, like Clay always says, you got to go back to the written word, right? And so there are prophecies right now specifically referencing April showers bring May flowers. It's very interesting, okay? So we've just had a bunch of rain here in California and most of North America, and we're stepping into showers. It's very interesting that the Clement prophecy as well, your father specifically, Donne, stated, beginning January 21, which was this January 21. This was Trump's first day in office on January 21. He stated between the 70th and the 100th day, the spirit of Pythos will begin to be removed from the world, okay, including America. So what do we just have happen here? Well, you got to go look at scriptures, and very interesting what's just happened is you had the Pope and you had Klaus Schwab die in the month of rain, where he also prophesied in that same prophecy, Donne, he said specifically, watch the gold. Okay, so what's been happening? Gold has been destroying all the forecasters. Okay, all of them, we've been doing podcasts, and they've all the so-called forecasters have been calling for $3,000 gold by the end of the year. Myself, Andrew, we've been talking about gold for 3-4 years, but this year we said watch 3,000-4,000 by the April, May. Okay. Well, unfortunately, the forecasters are all dead wrong. Your father prophesied, Donne, watch the gold. So the Kim Clement prophecy is manifesting. We saw the spirit of Pythos now begin to be destroyed in America and the world between the 70th and the 100th day. I appreciate you being here today, Donne, because today is day 100. I'm going to repeat. Today is May Day, May Day, May Day. Today is day 100. And now we're stepping into from Resurrection Sunday, because your father said, what's the key that opens a treasure chest? What's the key? The key is resurrection. So we are at a point in time. So I just want to start off with that. But basically, the rain referenced April. We're stepping into May. April showers bring May flowers. We are in a prophetic time point. Watch the gold. That's all happening. And now we're stepping into May 14th, which is really important. We'll talk about later. But May 14th biblically is huge. And we'll talk about that.
Now, for anybody who finds yourself being disturbed anytime that there's a prophetic video played, that's me. That is me too. I mean, it terrifies me. And some people tell me, they say, Andrew, some people tell me, they'll go, when I hear a prophetic word, I find it to be encouraging. And I say to people, mainly my wife, I say, I find them to be terrifying. I'm just being real. To me, this is like, so Sorcini, how do you process this? Because you're a very measured guy. You run a precious metals company. You're seeing the value of the dollar go down. You're seeing the price of gold go up. How do you process this? You don't put yourself out there as a prophet. You don't claim to have, any deep knowledge of the Bible. What's your reaction to these clips?
It's actually pretty amazing. It's like, for me, I've been a hard sell on anything prophetic up until maybe the last couple of years, because I've gotten to see a lot of these videos, especially the ones with Kim Clement, where he very, very clearly talks about Trump, and it's just like, it doesn't matter how many times I watch it, I actually get goosebumps watching it and thinking about it. And also, I've seen even Bo Polny recently said that something biblical was going to happen on April 21st. And something did happen. And I've just seen so many things happen. It's just mind-blowing. It's really opened my eyes.
What did you just say about Bo Polny on April 21st? What did you just say, Andrew?
He said something biblical was going to happen.
And what did happen in your mind that's biblical on April 21st?
I'm not sure how biblical it is, but it was certainly big news when Pope Francis passed away.
I will just preface this. If there was one biblical entity that could die on the world on the 21st of April, the one that leads the biggest church in the world, which is the Catholic religion, if there was one person that would top the scales of biblical event, I would say it's the Pope. But I don't want glory for this because the God showed me the math on it, and it's just incredible.
Okay.
With the math.
So, hey, real quick, we're gonna keep going, but I want to go to Caleb because Caleb is he represents the Stoic branch of the conservative Christian base that is entirely skeptical of all things prophetic. So, Caleb, we're going to go to you, and then we'll go to the next clip. What's your reaction to that first clip there, sir?
That's quite the introduction. I appreciate that, setting the stage very nicely for me. No, I do. I describe myself as a very cautious continuationalist, and I think half the time I'm on the show, Bo wants to strangle me with my microphone cord. But look, Kim Clement, I've watched him for years, and the guy was scary accurate. I do believe in prophetic giftings. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the office of the prophet that continues, but definitely that there can be prophetic giftings. I think they're very rare. And I think when we look at somebody like Kim Clement, I think we can kind of judge what he said and how often it's been proven true and say, yes, that man certainly had a prophetic gifting. But with everybody running around saying there's a prophet here, there's an apostle over here, I like to pump the brakes on that one because I just don't find that to be accurate.
And one thing before we put our next clip I want to share is on this show, a lot of times people want to have these discussions, but they don't. Because you know how it goes, Sorcini. Imagine that you and your wife are out for dinner in Beverly Hills and you're sitting down with a couple and you go, hey, what do you think about Kim Clement? And in the event that they know who Kim Clement was, it's going to go really bad or really good really quick. People won't stick around long enough to have the conversation. So I'll give you an example. The first time that I invited Donne Clement to come speak at one of our events, General Flynn looks at me and he says, is that Kim Clement's daughter? True story. And I go, yes. And he goes, oh, wow. I've watched a lot of his prophecies. I go, you have? He goes, oh yeah, in the military we'd watch them all the time because it was a way that we could kind of know what was happening. I'm like, wait a minute, you're saying the military would sit down and watch Kim Clement videos? He's like, well, I can't speak for the whole military, but I did, and I was in the military and I was in charge of at least a large part of it. I go, so you know who she is? He's like, oh yeah. And he was like mesmerized. He was excited to meet you because he had watched a lot of the videos. So it's pretty mind-boggling. Okay, so clip number 2, this is December 13th of 2014 in Camarillo, California. Kim Clement, I'm going to play this clip. Here we go.
Before I do anything else, this drew it out of me. I'd been in all week. I've been carrying this, and I was carried above a table with Putin and 4 others. I saw them writing things which I am not permitted to speak now. Otherwise, I won't be alive next week. I am not permitted to speak this now, but there will come a point when I can share it with the right authorities. And I will do it. And I will do it as I go to Israel. That is my duty. That is what he called me to do. I need your prayer. I need your covering. Jane needs your covering. My children need your covering. Our team needs your covering. Prayer covering for protection. This is no small thing, people. It may seem like a small building here, but there are literally millions that are watching all over the world at some point in time. And not many of them are friends. Many of them are great enemies.
Okay, just real quick context. Donne, how big was the building that your dad was in? People say, what are you asking? These are the kinds of things I think about. So how big was the building when he's in that room on the mic? How big was the room?
It was about as big as your building.
So there's 300 people there, 200 people there. I mean, how many people would be there on a typical?
Yeah, 200 to 300 people. It was actually a warehouse building in Camarillo, California, which is outside of Los Angeles.
So I want to make sure there's 3 things I want to teach before I go back to you guys about this. One, whether you're a prophet, which is highly unlikely because I think it's very unlikely you're a prophet, but no matter what you do, you can use the space you have to make an impact. I think it's just so powerful that Kim Clement, whether you like him or not, your father got behind a microphone and he's out there sharing, and it reached the whole world. So if you're watching today's show and you want to start a business of some kind, or you want to take that bakery to the next level, you want to turn your idea into reality, you want to start a ministry, start a business, start something, everything starts with small beginnings. And in the Bible, if you read the Bible, which I highly recommend you do, you're going to hear these stories about Moses and Abraham, and you're going to hear these stories. Well, Moses had to do something. God called Moses to do something. God called Abraham to leave his kinfolk and to do something. God called Nehemiah to build and fight simultaneously. Huh? Yeah. So God's calling everybody who's watching this show to do something. And so I just want to point that out, because I think a lot of times we think about Kim Clement now and we go, ah! And we were thinking, this must have been a stadium of 5,000 people. I mean, when you look at it, you're thinking, he must have been broadcasting live to 700 million people simultaneously. I mean, when you think about, you watch it, you go, this guy, he probably was in an arena the size of the Coliseum in LA or something. And but this is so Donne, let's break it down there. One is, what was your father talking about during that clip as you see it?
Bricks. Which is why I wanted to share that one today, because he was seeing Putin and 4 others. That's BRICS. What was BRICS doing? That was all gold. And so he was picking up, there was more to it, I believe. There's more to that. And he was concerned there about speaking publicly, literally for his life. And I will say a couple things. 2 weeks after that, he did go to Israel. And so you heard him in the prophecy saying, I will report it to the authorities when I have the chance, when I go to Israel. He did go to Israel 2 weeks later. Later on, when he got sick, we found out he had a brain tumor. We asked the doctors, how long has he had this brain tumor? Has he always had it? Maybe that's why he had that prophetic gift or something. And the doctors said, no, the rate, by measuring the rate of growth, it began growing in January of 2015, which was about 2 weeks after you saw that prophecy. The other thing I wanted to say about that is that when I interviewed you, I think it was 2 years ago now, Clay, I played that prophecy for you, and we didn't realize you actually said to me, Donne, what is the date today? And I said, oh my goodness, it's December 13th. So you'll find with prophecy that those kind of little things happen. I've heard people call it synchronicity. And that's all God doing those kind of things, that you and I would be looking at that prophecy on that date, and I didn't realize it was that date. But in particular, he's seeing Putin with 4 others, writing things down. And my mother 100% believes that he was seeing bricks. And then, of course, he felt concerned to say something about it, which in hindsight, I can understand now. At the time, I think it just went right over my head.
Now I want to pull this up and point this out real quick here. Sorcini, how deep into the Dodgers are you? How deep are you into the Dodgers at this point? How deep?
I would say I'm in with both feet. I'm as big a fan as anybody I know. Okay,
so let me just demonstrate this. Who bats first on the lineup for the Dodgers?
It's Shohei Ohtani.
Who bats second?
It changes, but usually Mookie bats.
Who bats third?
Freddie Freeman.
What number does Freddie Freeman wear?
He wears 5.
You're in deep, bro. You're in. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of times when we're on a show like this and we're talking about bricks, people go, "Oh yeah. What's that?" Because no one knows these things. I'm just gonna make sure we unpack this. Okay. So bricks is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. These countries are attempting to introduce a currency system, okay? So Steve Bannon's talked about this for years. People that are much more credible than me in terms of the respect they have, that kind of thing from the world. They've been talking about this for a long time. So I don't be able to see this real quick, okay? So BRICS, Donne just said BRICS, and I think a third of the audience is going, I don't know what that means. Okay, because it's like Sorcini, he knows the Dodgers, so I could mention the name of some rando on the Dodgers, and he's like, oh yeah, that's the backup third baseman, and he went to college here and there, and his sister went. Sorcini, if you want to go deep into Dodgers, that's what Sorcini can do for you. Let's hit play. Here we go.
The Russians backed up what Warren's been saying. A lot of people are going, oh, this currency is not going to be anything. They said it's going to be gold backed. Hello, it's going to be gold backed.
The BRICS group is set to introduce a new currency backed by gold.
Okay, so you get this idea. So this is a real thing. Okay, then we go back here. Russia, I mean, this is relatively recently, in November of 2024, Russia has announced they've hit historic gold reserves. That's Russia. China announced here, again, dateline, November 30th, China, November 30th, 2024. China claims to have unearthed the largest gold deposit in the world. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they're all hoarding the Earth's gold in preparation to introduce a new reserve currency. With that being said, I go back to you, Sorcini. What's your reaction to that clip? Or if you want to go off on a rant about the Dodgers, feel free.
Well, really, to me, we're on the cusp of gold becoming what backs all currency in the world. For many years, decades, the better part of a century, we have been operating with fiat currency here in the United States and the whole world, meaning our dollars aren't backed by anything real. And when we have financial needs as a country, we can print more dollars to pay off debt, which creates inflation. So we're aware that this is a road that you don't want to go on for any length of time. Therefore, we must return to a gold-backed currency of some sort. And I believe that all these countries, and even us here in the United States, are preparing for that, because if you own gold prior to this big move or this transformation of currency, it's going to be beneficial for all that have it.
Now, I want to go back here to Mr. Church and State here, Caleb. What's your reaction to this? Because it is uncanny, it is unreal, it is odd, not normal. Maybe unbelievable to some, that Kim Clement would be talking about these subjects long before they happen. What's your reaction, sir?
Well, first off, I got to state that baseball is not actually a sport. Just for Andrew, I got to rub that in. Number one, but no, I mean, returning back to it, yeah, it's Kim Clement most certainly had a gift of prophecy, and I will say this: that distinction is very important to maybe me and more of my ilk, the ones that are a little bit hesitant towards this, because when you claim to be a prophet, then my understanding, biblically speaking, was that you would be 100% accurate all the time, no matter what. Whereas if you are given a prophetic word, that God gives you this gift, then you know what? He's going to give you a word, and it's going to be 100% accurate. But if you're operating as "Thus saith the prophet," that's when we run into some dangerous areas, and that's where, unfortunately, we see a lot of these false prophets emerge. I don't put Kim Clement in that category whatsoever. As I stated in my previous answer, the guy's been scary accurate, and I'm with you, Clay. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it, and it makes me freak out a little bit.
So I want to go back to you, Bo. Bo, you've been talking about these subjects for a long time, and just to give people a little bit of background into Bo said they would overturn Roe versus Wade. On the show, I said, I don't know if that's going to happen, Bo. I don't know. And it did happen. You did say Roe versus Wade would be overturned. That's the thing you said. You also said that something biblical would happen here on April 21st. And I don't know, Bo, if Klaus Schwab resigning and the Pope dying on the same day could be described as biblical. To me, that might be like a little, just like a coincidence. So, Bo, on behalf of Team Skeptical, back to you.
All right, so some more information. So the prophecy you just played. Now, Google and find out. Do your own homework, everybody. Please do your homework. What happened to Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi? Both of them wanted to sell oil in other currencies aside from the U.S. dollar. That event of Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi, both of those would have caused a cascading collapse of the US dollar, and suddenly we invade their countries and both leaders are dead. It's interesting that Kim Clement had a prophecy that he's speaking about these dealings going on. He's specifically seeing a prophecy about the US dollar. Interestingly enough, sad enough that 2 weeks later he's diagnosed with a brain tumor, okay? None of this is coincidence, okay? They remove people that are in their way. So that's my best guess on this. Very sad, but unfortunately, anytime you challenge the supremacy of the US dollar, you basically challenge the supremacy of the world, because they've used the US dollar to build Babylon. Now, secondly, we talk about the BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Now, very interesting. These nations are nations that are, for the most part, 70, 80% of these nations, of the people in them, are non-Christian, meaning they do not know Jesus Christ. Now, that's a problem. If the BRICS rise to power, George Soros wants this because this will be the collapse of the dollar, the rise of the BRICS currency, which they're going to back by gold, which is great. But the bottom line is you're not going to see biblical pricing on gold because bottom line is they remain in control. This is very important to understand. So the BRICS nations are going to crumble. Their plans will crumble. Now, I want to do some really fun math for you. Clay, since you got the controls there, Google Kissinger's contract with Saudi Arabia, when it was, and specifically what you'll come up with June 8th, petrodollar contract, June 8th, 1974. And you're going to see that's the exact date the petrodollar contract occurred. Now, this is why I study math, because if in Google actually it comes up actually as June 9th. You'll see in June. It should be June. It's June 8th. If you put in June 8th, type in June 8th, 1974, and then they'll actually give you the correct data. But it's June. There it is, 1974. Now, why I reference this is because what happened on June 8th, 2024, last year. Saudis refused to re-sign the petrodollar contract. So, see, this is why math is so incredible and dates are so incredible, because everything's happening in divine perfection. So, 50 years to the exact day Kissinger signs the contract with Saudis, this 50 years to the exact day, Saudis refused to re-sign the petrodollar contract. Now, that means right now, Donne, we are in the year of Jubilee. That started based on the petrodollar contract, the 50-year Leviticus cycle. If you read Leviticus 25, thou shalt consecrate the what year? Click Google Leviticus 25, and it specifically states the 50th year. Okay, so if you go 50 years started June 8th, 2024. So the 50th day would end when? On June 8th, 2025. Clay, so there's Leviticus 25, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year. Now, you want to also know, so the next thing you want to Google is specifically from the year of Jubilee. So it starts, so now Google Pentecost. This is the whole point of this. Google Pentecost 2025. Guess what day it is?
Andrew Sorcini's birthday.
The same exact day that the petrodollar contract was signed 50 years ago. Pentecost of this year marks the end of the 50 years, which means God will have intervened. What your father saw in prophecy was the collapse of the US dollar. It will happen between today and that date, June 8th, 2025. Babylon will crumble. Why? Because Nimrod was building Babylon. And then what happened was God showed up. Babylon fell and he twisted everybody's tongues. When was the time that everybody spoke in tongues? The 11 apostles. Pentecost. So God showed up at Pentecost, destroyed Babylon's plans. This is what's about to happen. This is biblical perfection. The fact that Pentecost is landing on June 8th to the exact day that petrodollar contract was signed, to the exact 50-year cycle of Leviticus, we're about to see biblical manifest right in front of us. And that ties into your father's prophecy about specifically joy in spring. Because spring doesn't end until June 21, 2025. And I know that I'm stating all of these things because Donne knows the prophecies as well as I do. And specifically, he said, what? You have been besieged, America, besieged by haters of America for 7 years. And I shall take you out of your besiegement. Those were his words, not mine. And if you look from the Revelation 12 sign, I'll finish right here. Revelation 12 sign, anybody, please go do the math. Revelation 12 line September 23rd, 2017. Add 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days. Yesterday.
Okay, real quick, Sorcini, I hate to steal Bo's thunder here, but there was one time I went to Walmart at like 3 a.m. before one of our business conferences. You know, we had a business conference coming up, and Bo, we give away TVs at our conferences. You know, we give away a TV. Sometimes someone wins a prize, wins a contest. So I go to Walmart to check out. I can't find anybody to help me check out. It's like 3 a.m. Our conference starts here. You know, people start showing up at 5. I'm at Walmart. I probably shouldn't go to a super Walmart at 3 a.m, but that's where I was. And I'm there. And I look to my right, and I'm not kidding. I see a man who is passed out, drunk, or intoxicated of some kind, and his face is down in a bowl of cereal. He's just whatever. He had enough energy to start eating the cereal, not enough to keep his head, and he's just face down, and he's just kind of groveling. And I'm thinking, this guy, his face is in the cereal, and I'm like, is this happening? That's how I feel about what you just said. I'm like, is this happening? I look at the guy next to me. I'm like, is this real? Is this guy? Is it? We really have a guy? I think there's somebody watching this who's going to have to watch this twice because it's so wild. It's just a lot there to it. So Sorcini, when you're watching this, I mean, how do you process this? Do you feel like you just saw the drunk guy pass out in the cereal? Do you feel like you just saw Moses come down from the mountain? Do you feel underwhelmed, overwhelmed? How are you processing this?
The first thought that comes to mind is this can't be true. But then I start trying to reverse engineer the numbers, and I'm like, okay. But I'm like, if this wasn't real, like, how would somebody, like, who in the world would have the time to do these calculations unless somehow those calculations were given to them? I think it would be far easier to figure out how the guy got his head in the bowl of cereal than to understand how that works. If I saw that, I'd think I was being punked. I would look over both shoulders and then try to figure out if I was being recorded.
It's unbelievable. Let me pull up this clip here. So this next clip here, this is clip number 3, the final clip we're going to play. And I want to give a lot of space to be able to talk about some things that Donne is working on, and Bo, you're working on as well, and some great calls to action here. But February 22nd, 2014, Camarillo.
And then I heard gold. I wasn't sure if this was attached to his name, but he said to me, he will restore the fortunes in this nation because of his brilliance. I couldn't quite see his face because that was not allowed, because there was a mist that covered all the people and he was amongst them. And the Spirit of God made me look at him, and he said, this man will throttle the enemies of Israel. This man will throttle the enemies of the West. And there are highly embarrassing moments that are about to occur for many, many politicians in this nation. There will be a shaking amongst the Democrats in the upcoming elections, but unsettling for the Republicans. Why is God doing this? For God said, I am dissatisfied with what emerges from both parties. And then there is a nation, he showed me and took me, itching for a new kind of war with America. They will shout, impeach, impeach, they say, but nay. This nation shall come very subtly, but he shall not come in the time of President Obama. They shall come when this new one arises, my David, that I have set aside for this nation.
Okay, Donne, Clement, back to you again. This is your father's, just to contextualize this a little bit. This is your dad. So to me, it's this guy who is blowing my mind. For somebody else watching this, it's a guy they disagree with. For somebody else, it's somebody they agree with. For somebody, it's an encouraging prophetic thing they don't understand. For someone else, this was their pastor or their minister or their praise and worship leader. To you, it's your dad. So how do you process what your father just said?
Well, being that it was my dad at the time, I wasn't processing anything because I was just used to it. I didn't have any other life experience except for this. So, you know, after he died, that changed because all I had left were the prophecies. And I use it as kind of a way to heal and through my grief to watch him. And I started to see how accurate, and as time went on, how accurate this was. And so that's why Mom and I kept the ministry going, and we made sure that people had the opportunity to hear them. They can discern for themselves whatever, if this is for them or not, because many don't believe in modern prophecy or New Testament prophecy. And I have to deal with those people all the time because they love to tell me how I'm going to burn in hell with my father. But I do also think it's wise to have a measured, to be measured when you're looking at these things and not to get too caught up. But when you look at that, it's very specific because not only is Trump, you think about Trump, everything's gold for Trump, but it's not like God chose Trump for this. God made Trump for this. So what you'll find is that there's layers of meaning within it. And this is true of the Bible as well. Something that might have a moral lesson can also have a much deeper meaning in it. And so you see this topic of gold. My dad just kept seeing the gold like that. But things that he saw also were death to debt for the United States of America. And for 15, 20 years, before he died, he was prophesying death to debt, death to debt. He had my husband as an artist. He had him making imagery and putting it on T-shirts and putting it on things so people could understand what they needed to declare, which was the promise given by God, which was death to debt over this nation. So you see now someone like Donald Trump, who's covered the Oval Office in gold, who everything in his branding is gold. And then you have this issue of gold happening during his presidency. And then, of course, we have bricks and all of that. So you can see how it lines up in a way that a person could not orchestrate that. My dad could not have orchestrated that. And as his daughter, I can say as a witness, I know that. I know how many times that he would prophesy something and then he would come. I mean, he was in France prophesying about a Fourth Reich, and he spoke about the Muslim, about how France would overcome Muslim invasion the way they did in the 7th century, stepped off of the platform, looked at my mother and said, "What happened in the 7th century?" He had no idea. And so there's something pure about that. And even my dad not being alive now or to live through any of this too, because things have become so polarized, especially since Trump came down that escalator. That's when God took my dad, and he'd already prophesied everything. He prophesied about Trump being a trumpet. A trumpet makes a loud noise and it gets your attention. Look here. And that's what's happened, is how much has been exposed through this experience of the corruption in the government, which in these prophecies, he then says, there will be no more corruption in the White House because of what I'm doing through this chosen David. And then again, you see the gold, the gold, the gold. And not just as an indicator of who Trump is, although that is true, but look what we're talking about today. We're talking about gold and currency and our adversaries coming together and using gold as a currency to overcome the dollar. And then Dad seeing a new energy. Now, I don't have those prophecies because there's so many of them. I didn't have time to share it all with you today. But he prophesied again and again and again about death to debt aligned with a new energy source that would cause America to be debt-free. And so there's something new coming. He even saw digital currencies. He was seeing emblems for the prosperity of my people, to quote him from 2013. But he didn't know how to articulate that because he didn't know what a digital currency was. And so again and again, I only had a few prophecies to share with you guys today, but again and again, you see this recurrent theme of death to debt, a new energy, gold, currencies, and overcoming the beast of the East is what he saw it. And he was prophesying that all the way back in 1993.
I've got a lot of calls to action here. So let me pull this up. People watch these shows, these broadcasts. They say, what can I do with this information? So I've got a lot here. So first off for you, Donne, we will put a link on today's show notes, but your father's last prophecy, you sent that to me here. And I'll put a link to it. This is your father's last prophetic word. And why does everybody need to watch this prophecy there, Chief?
Well, listen, Bo actually said it, and I didn't interrupt him because I wanted to hear what he had to say. But you notice what he said about the Jubilee. What my dad originally entitled. See, we put a different title to this because we were letting people know this was the last time he ever did a broadcast. But he actually titled that broadcast in our database of the broadcasts where we keep them, "Death to Debt and Jubilee." And he was very specific about the Jubilee year and death to debt for the United States of America in that broadcast. And in that broadcast, also a man from South Africa, a true prophet from South Africa, another one, his name is Richard Gray, came in and prophesied over my mom and dad and bound their arms together and prophesied over the two of them. And then he said my name. And he didn't know me and I didn't know him. And I remember at the time I was at home with a sick baby, so I couldn't be in the building that day. And I was watching it live. And I was saying, what's this guy talking about? He doesn't know what he's talking about. That prophecy is in there as well. And so that particular broadcast, we obviously didn't have time today, but people need to go and watch it. Just watch it from beginning to end. He even prophesies about South Africa in there, which is, it's remarkable. And it was the very last time my dad ever did a broadcast or prophesied anything. That was September 5th of 2015. 2 days later, he had a stroke.
Now, Sorcini, I want to brag on you just for a second here. Then we'll go to Caleb to get his thoughts and reactions as well. But when COVID happened, lockdowns, quarantines, curfews, that kind of thing, so many show sponsors for quote unquote patriotic shows disappeared. I mean, all these gold people said, I don't want to be on camera with a Donne Clement. I don't want to be on a camera with a General Flynn. I don't want to be on a camera with a Michael Lindell. Please don't put me on camera. Well, why? Well, because censorship went into hyperdrive. So let me just give people one example. It's kind of fun. I have a podcast called The Thrive Time Show. That's what people are listening to right now. And so my Thrive Time Show podcast, it doesn't really matter how good or not good the video is. I'm going to get like 19 views. I'm going to get 1 view. I'm going to get 1 view. No matter how good a video is, no matter who I interview. If I'm interviewing Wolfgang Puck or John Maxwell or a songwriter for Jennifer Lopez, I'm going to get 3 views. Look at this. 2 views, 3 views, 2 views. Interview with Robert Kiyosaki, 7 views. Because the censorship is next level. My LinkedIn was completely deleted. My YouTube was throttled or deleted. I had hundreds of thousands of subscribers on various channels deleted. But Andrew Sorcini, he said, hey, I will stand in the gap and I will show up as an unapologetic show sponsor for anybody that you want to team me up with. And you did it. And Andrew's done it. And Andrew behind the scenes has been a huge part of supporting the Reawaken America tour. And I'll give people real numbers here. If you think about a pie chart of all the sponsors that helped, quote unquote, Reawaken America, I want people to know this. I would, just for people I know, I would say half of the revenue, the show sponsor revenue that has supported getting these messages out on the various broadcasts, half of that revenue came from Mike Lindell, and the other half has come from Andrew Sorcini. I mean it sincerely. Andrew has been the most loyal show sponsor that anybody has seen, and so I encourage anybody out there, if you're looking for a precious metals dealer to work with, you ask, man, why did Kash Patel endorse Andrew Sorcini? Why does General Flynn endorse Andrew Sorcini? Why does Peter Navarro endorse Andrew Sorcini? It's because Andrew Sorcini, Mel K, he stood in the gap when very few people would. So Andrew, I want to get your thoughts again about just why you decided to speak up and team up with patriotic podcasts when a lot of gold dealers in your industry frankly ran for the hills and didn't want to be associated with it.
Yeah, it's unfortunately in this industry there are some people that don't operate the way that they should. It's sometimes they take advantage of people, or some of the people that buy from us don't really have the education necessary to make a good decision, and they'll take advantage of that. So for me, when it came to doing this, I just had to think, well, what do I have to hide? And it's what you see is what you get, and we process the payments quickly, and we deliver quickly, and we help educate people. We don't rush them into doing it on a single phone call if they're not ready. We don't tell them, well, I could call you back tomorrow, but the gold isn't going to be here. Gold has been around thousands of years. The exact gold we have today might not be the exact gold we have tomorrow, but there'll be something just as good tomorrow as there is today. And they don't want to show their faces because they don't want people to know who they are. And for me, that was a big step, but I think others have followed since then.
Now, I will say that right now, Goldman Sachs is predicting that gold's going to hit $4,500. J.P. Morgan is saying gold's going to hit $4,500 this year, by the way. And so for anybody out there that wants to protect your wealth and maybe participate in this financial abundance related to the price of gold going up, the value of gold going up, I encourage everybody, schedule a free consultation at bh-pm.com. That's bh-pm. It stands for Beverly Hills Precious Metals.com. But to better remember it, I also think it could stand for Big Horse perfectman.com, but it doesn't. It stands for Beverly Hills Precious Metals. So, Caleb, we'll go to you, your thoughts, and we'll go to Bo Polny. So, Caleb, what's your reaction to these Kim Clement prophecies, sir?
Well, I mean, I certainly don't want to be the Eeyore of the group, but I don't know. Apparently, that's what I've been called to do. I mean, I just want to throw some caution on a lot of this. This golden age, I don't necessarily see as a positive thing. The esoteric Luciferian Alice Bailey predicted in 2025 that there would be a golden age, and that would be a very negative thing. We have Elon Musk, who's claiming, or some Christians are claiming to be a prophet, who wants to put a chip on our heads, and there's a whole transhumanist movement. We have the United Nations 10 Regions Plan, which was released in 2018. They revamped it, and the North American Union, as they're calling it, is supposed to be Canada, the United States, and Greenland. That sounds very familiar. Sounds like something that Trump wants to pull off. I don't see necessarily a stage in human history where it gets better and better and better. I actually think that while we may not know the exact day, we do know the seasons, and Jesus told us that. I see the rise of the beast system that is emerging. I think with all the technological advancements, they were fast approaching that. And I think that debt is probably going to continue. I think, and I certainly want to be very respectful here, but that death of debt, I think actually refers to our sins. That debt has been paid entirely by the blood of Jesus Christ. And I don't think we need to take that and apply a monetary value to it. I think that's our sins that Jesus paid for in whole. Go ahead, Clay. I see you with a finger up.
I want to interject with the final 5 minutes. I'm going to go to Bo, and then I'm going to go to Donne for the final word, because so much of this is focused on your dad's prophecy. I want to go to Bo for 60 seconds. But I do want to point out that the Golden Age was prophesied by Alice Bailey. Alice Bailey is the founder of the Lucifer Publishing Company. I do want people to know this. The rainbow, which God created, has been perverted and is used by organizations that don't support biblical marriage. And I could also see two definitions of a golden age. I could see, I know people in the comments will argue, they'll say the golden age is good, the golden age is bad. But I do want people to know that what you were referencing there, Caleb, the golden age prophesied by Alice Bailey, the founder of the Lucifer Publishing Company, that is a real thing. So I want everyone to know that you're not just making that up. Bo Polny, 60 seconds on the clock, then we'll go back to Donne. Bo, what say you?
I'll say this. I've got like 7 bullet points real quick. So the golden age versus age of Aquarius, you got to understand, right? Who's Satan? He's the copycat, okay? He's going to take everything, he's going to pervert it. Period. You got to know that. Everything's perversion in Satan's eye. He wants it, and he does it with deception. So he's going to take everything God says, perverts it, and that's what you got. The Great Reset versus the Great Awakening, okay? That's why the Reawaken Tour was the Great Reset versus the Great Awakening, because it's two polar opposites. So there's day and night. A coin's got two sides. Couple things. Trump shall sound the trumpet for the return of Christ. That's prophecy, okay? Also, BRICS will crumble in June, okay? The BRICS nations will crumble. And that's going to then usher in July, which is going to be the Kim Clement prophecy of strange July, because that's during the year of Jubilee, which is going to be actually, we thought it was last year. I thought it was last year. The calculations potentially are indicating we're going to see a huge shifting this July. Clay, if you can really quickly Google the word you want to put in, 44 kings of Israel in order. The reason I want to show this is because Israel had 44 kings before it fell, and then it fell. So this is a factual statement. I want Israel and America are the two covenant nations, okay? The point I want to show you, Israel had 44 kings, then it fell. Now Google, well, we all know which president number was Obama. 44. Okay. We just spoke about Obama in the prophecy. Well, Kim Clement referenced Obama. He will not come in the time of President Obama. That was Kim Clement's specific word, God spoken through Kim. The one, my David, will not come in the time of President Obama. Obama was 44. That which has been will be again. New characters, new people, same cycle, same numbers, okay? And then who will God raise up? David. Now, lastly, Google Jeremiah 30, verse 9, and you will see that Trump has been in prophecy for 2,500 years. Google Jeremiah 30, verse 9, and this will tie the pieces together of what Donne was stating, because the prophecy goes, but they will serve the Lord their God, our God, Christ, and David their king, who I will raise up. This prophecy is 500 years after King David's death. So God's going to raise up a David, and so the David is Trump. We're actually watching fulfillment of prophecy right in front of us. Everything's happening. We're here for the season's prophecy, I truly believe. And I'll finish with this. Watch May 14th. That's the next huge date. Why? Because it's 7 years to the exact day Trump moved the capital to Jerusalem. Trump will be on that day 77 years and 700 days old. 777. This is impossible. And lastly, Israel was declared a state to the exact day 77 years backwards from May 14th, 2025. So this May 14th, we are going to see biblical May 14th all the way into Pentecost. And then we're going to see the strange July, because we're going to be reborn after Babylon is exposed and their money system crumbles. So the bricks are about to fall. It's going to be biblical. I'm just showing you the math of the details, the 44s, the 77s. None of this is random. It's all divine perfection. God showed me the numbers. I'm showing you the numbers, how none of this is random. It can't be. It cannot be random. And we know scripturally we win. God wrote the end from the beginning. So therefore, he must have written all the events that we're watching right now in front of us, that were divinely appointed, perfect time points in our world. And Pastor Dave said specifically just in the podcast yesterday, it's right in Ezekiel, can a God raise a nation in a day? We did. We saw it happen May 14th, 1948. Okay. So this was 77 years ago, this May 14th. I'm just telling you, this is biblical, what's about to happen. And, Andrew Sorcini, right? Beverly Hills Precious Metals. You want to talk about getting metals fast? I've only been using him for the past 2 years. Why? Because he delivers lightning fast. My wife sends a wire, boom, it's like we get it within 2-3 days sometimes. It's crazy, okay? I'm just telling you, between now and May 14th, there's so little time left. And I think a watch starting this coming Tuesday, May 6th into May 14th. That's the time point we're going to start electing on the Pope, which is the next day. This is a wild week coming. May's going to be Mayflowers for us, and it's going to be horrible for them because there's always two sides of the equation.
Donne, I don't want to make you feel rushed, but we've got about 5 minutes on the board, so you can use all of it or you can use 60 seconds, whatever. I want to make sure we give you an opportunity to put kind of a cherry on top on this broadcast. And again, thank you for your courage, for coming on and talking about your late great father and his prophecies. And again, I appreciate Caleb for you sharing what's on your heart, Andrew Sorcini and Bo as well. So Donne, back to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all of you, and especially Caleb, what you were saying about the golden age. Now that my mother and I have discussed this in particular, and most recently, because something that happened to her was God put on her heart eschatology and to study it. And she's following very closely end time studies under many different prophecy teachers. It's something she never did her whole life. And then all of a sudden around 2011, God started using her that way. So I would encourage you to go and watch what he prophesied on that broadcast that I was sharing, the Jubilee broadcast, because he actually said, I will present myself one last time. And Mom and I were talking about how during this Trump era, God is giving us a chance, almost a reprieve before the things, and however that's timed, we don't know the day or the hour, but we do know what season we're in. And those things that were prophesied, we are beginning to see become fulfilled. And so when we look at Dad's prophecies, he never specifically, he saw the latest date we have him seeing to is 2027. And it was, as he said on that broadcast, and the last time he prophesied, and he actually got emotional, he said, and I will present myself one last time before the end. And however, I've forgotten how he phrased it. And so
I stand beyond the veil of limitations in 2027. Sorry to interrupt. That's what he said. I stand in the year 2027 beyond the veil of limitations. Those are his words. I'm sorry, Donne.
So yeah, I think that we're actually quite aligned, Kayla. But if you, I wish my mom was here today because you guys would have a good conversation, I think. But I just wanted to clear that up. Is that it wasn't. My dad never actually said that, but he was seeing gold, he was seeing Trump, and he was seeing this time. And as far as the death to debt, I don't know what to think about that either. But he did prophesy it again and again. And so we are seeing Trump doing some stuff. But either way, Mom and I both see it as a time of reprieve before the end. And especially with people like Elon Musk, we certainly don't trust that. And that whole system, but it was prophesied, and we know that system is upon us. And so, and the other thing that I wanted to do was tell you, Bo, you were talking about April, and I sent it to you guys in the group chat, and I've sent the link also to you, Bo, and I would encourage you, Clay, to share it with everybody. I posted this video on my YouTube channel the other day in relation to Pakistan and what's going on with India and Pakistan. And in that prophecy, he speaks about the month of April and the opening up. So I thought it was quite interesting, Bo, that you brought that up. And I would encourage you guys to have a look. Maybe you can share that with the viewers as well. I texted you the link, Clay, what he saw in regards to Pakistan and nuclear power and the concern with something he'd seen there back in 2012, I think it was. And then anybody, if you want to see anything that we do at the House of Destiny, you can just search Kim Clement, kimclement.com, or go to Rumble, YouTube, or X, any social media, and we're there, and you can have a look at those prophecies. We have a database as well, so you can do keyword searches and do some research for yourself. I know Bo does it.
I want to just also say this, Donne. Actually, Clay, if it's okay with you, your call. But I got a 1 minute 30-second video of your father actually speaking about what you were just saying right there with reference to that little window of reprieve. So if you want to play it, if not, it's Clay's call.
You have a 1 minute and 30-second video clip of my father?
No, I've Donne's father.
Oh, okay. That's really weird. Okay, Bo. So back to you for the final clip, the final clip, and I'll put in the show notes. I'll put a link to what Donne was referencing. So, Bo, the final, triple final, bonus, double, overtime clip.
I think this is a fantastic place to end. So here's the prophecy Kim was just speaking of, or Donne was speaking about her father.
The giants that have come, the brothers of Goliath, stand in glee watching America. We will cripple you. You will lose your credit. And people will become very afraid. I have said I will bring this nation to its knees. And God said, you have been humbled. And then you shall hear the sounds of great victory. For many that have cried out and said, God will destroy this nation. The Spirit says, may I remind you, the covenant that I made with this nation is immutable, is unchangeable, that I created and spoke over this nation to feed the world, to heal the earth. God says, yes, judgment will come, but it shall not come at this time in the fashion that they have spoken. They have said, there shall be a crash and America shall be crippled. God said, not at this time, not at this time, for I have raised you up for a season. You have been besieged for 7 years, America. You have been surrounded by your internal enemies. Haters of America have stood up, and I will take the wealth of the wicked and for a season transfer it into the hands of the righteous. I will bring an amount of restoration to this nation, and they shall be taken out of their siege that you've been in for 7 years. And then the songs will come from all over this nation, from young people who deserve to sing my song.
Whoa. This is mind-boggling information here, folks. I'm going to put links to what Donne sent over. Again, I encourage everyone to check out the website. And final note here, KimClement.com. That's where you go. That's where you want to go. KimClement.com. That's where you can see all the Kim Clement prophecies. Also, to learn more about Andrew Sorcini, go to bh-pm.com. And that's bh-pm.com. Also, you have churchandstate.media. Churchandstate.media. That's where you can find Caleb Collier and his podcasts and broadcasts. And then, Bo Polny, what is your website there, sir?
Gold2020forecast.com. Thank you, Clay.
Gold2020forecast.com. The website is no longer holy crap, this is getting crazy.com. It's gold2020forecast.com. Bo Polny no longer uses holy crap, this is getting really, really crazy.com. Again, he uses gold20forecast.com. Thank you, Bo. Thank you, Donne. Thank you, Caleb. I appreciate you, everybody, for being on today's show. We'll see you soon.
Amen.
Since my name is Cash, I'm constantly worried about inflation. But to secure your cash going forward, buy into gold and silver today. Go to bh-pm.com today so you can go buy in gold and silver and secure your family's future. bh-pm.com. Call Beverly Hills Precious Metals, get your consultation, buy into gold and silver just like I'm doing today, and help secure your family's future.